Good evening, it's 8 p.m. You're watching the news. I'm Ankita Mukherjee. It's been a day of big political developments and a jolt for the Congress. Let's get started with the headlines tonight. Congress veteran Ghulam Nabi Azad quits and attacks the Gandhis in a scathing letter. He says decisions were taken by Rahul Gandhi, sometimes his security guards and his PAs. The Congress responds saying the contents of Azad's letter are not factual. The timing of his quitting is awful. The BJP tweets focus on Congress Jodo, not Bharat Jodo. Will Azad now form a new party? 5 more Jammu and Kashmir leaders quit. Jharkhand Chief Minister Hemant Soren is gone. He's penalized for giving a mining lease to himself. The poll panel, however, does not disbar Soren from fighting elections, and the poll panel will notify fresh elections in 6 months. The Aam Aadmi Party takes on the BJP yet again. Arvind Kejriwal, speaking at a special session of the Delhi Assembly, says it's a serial killer of governments. His sensational claim BJP bought 277 MLAs. The AAP will also ask for a trust vote in the Delhi Assembly. Actor in Haryana, BJP leader Sonali Phogat is cremated. Her 2 aides are now arrested. The Goa police say the accused have admitted that they spiked Phogat's drink. The Goa police cite CCTV footage as proof. This video shows Phogat staggering out of Goa's Curly's restaurant and nightclub on the night that she died. The Supreme Court refers the freebies case to a new bench. The order is live streamed in a historic first to mark the outgoing Chief Justice's last day. In his farewell speech, the Chief Justice says, "Don't lose hope because of a perceived unfair verdict." On camera, a horrific racist attack in Dallas, Texas. The Mexican-American attacker takes on 4 Indian-American women and says, "I hate you, Indians." She's arrested and charged with assault. You don't touch me. But the big political story tonight, the Congress party has seen an exodus of leaders this year. But perhaps today's was the biggest yet. After months of voicing his discontent, veteran leader and former Union Minister Ghulam Nabi Azad finally walked out of the party with a scathing resignation letter in which he unleashed a no-holds-barred attack on Rahul Gandhi, accusing him of political immaturity and blaming him for sidelining and insulting senior leaders. Azad may now form a new party.
Is Congress stalwart Ghulam Nabi Azad's exit the most damaging exit so far in the Congress exodus of leaders young and old? In the party since the 1970s, a minister in all Congress governments since Indira Gandhi, and in the Congress Working Committee for nearly 40 years, he minced no words today in his exit letter, reserving his bitterest attack for the Congress's reluctant president-in-waiting, Rahul Gandhi. Attacking Rahul's political immaturity, he writes, "One of the most glaring examples of this immaturity was the tearing up of a government ordinance in full glare of the media. This childish behavior completely subverted the authority of the Prime Minister and the Government of India. Since the 2019 elections, the situation in the party has only worsened. Rahul Gandhi stepped down in a huff, not before insulting all the senior party functionaries who gave their lives to the party. In a meeting of the Extended Working Committee, you took over as an interim president. A remote control model that demolished the institutional integrity of the UPA government now got applied to the Indian National Congress. While you are just a nominal figurehead, all the important decisions were being taken by Shri Rahul Gandhi, or rather worse, his security guards and personal assistants. At the national level, we have conceded the political space available to us to the BJP, and at the state level, space to regional parties. The leadership in the past 8 years has tried to foist a non-serious individual at the helm of the party. The entire organizational election process is a farce and a sham. Before starting the Bharat Jodo Yatra, the leadership should have undertaken a Congress Jodo exercise across the country. Some of my other colleagues and I will now persevere to perpetuate the ideals for which we have dedicated our entire adult lives outside the formal fold of the Indian National Congress. For the Congress, the retaliation playbook was as per form. Attack Ghulam Nabi Azad for being modified and link it to his not getting a Rajya Sabha extension and point out to the warmth between the Prime Minister and him during his farewell speech.
जैसे अपने परिवार के सदस्य की चिंता करें, वैसी चिंता सत्ता जीवन में आती रहती है, लेकिन उसे कैसे पचाना,
जब वो मोदी जी खुद ही वो आंखों से पानी निकाल रहे थे, उस वक्त मैं यही समझा कि भाई इतना वो अपना दुख प्रकट कर रहे हैं, क्या बात है।
अभी तो मैं खुद सदमे में हूँ। एक ऐसा 42 साल का जिसको सब कुछ मिला जिंदगी के अंदर, 42 साल ही बगैर पद के नहीं रहे हो व्यक्ति।
It's most unfortunate, most regrettable that at this point of time we have had to read this letter.
The problem is in the Congress party is that everybody knows that Rahul Gandhi is an immature, whimsical and unpredictable leader. Congress President or Srimati Sonia Gandhi is not taking care of the party.
Ghulam Nabi Azad is all set to form a regional outfit and contest the next elections in Jammu and Kashmir next year. For the Congress, the timing couldn't have been worse, with the Gandhis abroad and a reluctant Rahul Gandhi to take over the Congress president. The big question is, who will it be next? With camera person Xavier Thomas and Sanjay Kaushik, Sunil Prabhu, NDTV.
And in a piece for NDTV.com, columnist Swati Chaturvedi has described the specific instance where it seems Ghulam Nabi Azad felt disrespected by Rahul Gandhi. She writes, when Ghulam Nabi Azad last met Rahul Gandhi, the latter reportedly told an aide to get Ghulam Nabi some tea. The veteran leader, a former Chief Minister of Jammu and Kashmir, felt hugely disrespected and told others, Mrs. Gandhi has always called me Azad Saab, and yet today her son insulted me. Well, on to the other big political story tonight. It's gone for Hemant Soren, who must now step down as Jharkhand Chief Minister. Based on a recommendation from the Election Commission, the Jharkhand governor will notify a disqualification order against Soren for having allotted himself a mining lease while being Chief Minister. With Soren, his Council of Ministers will also resign. Well, what are the ramifications of all of this going to be? Arvind and Saurabh joining us for more on that big story. Arvind, what happens next for Soren and, the JMM Congress alliance in Jharkhand? He's clearly not barred from contesting elections again. So what are the likely scenarios going ahead?
Yeah, Ankita, the Election Commission, according to our sources, has given its opinion on the complaint against Jharkhand Chief Minister Hemant Soren for allegedly awarding a government contract to himself as per the Representation of People's Act Section 9A that clearly says that any public or a public personality, a public servant, especially a legislator, cannot award a government contract to himself. And that was the clause based on which a complaint was filed against Hemant Soren, and that particular complaint was promptly forwarded by the governor to the Election Commission, and Election Commission, after a detailed hearing, even after hearing the side of Hemant Soren, has given its opinion to the governor, wherein our sources say that the Election Commission has given its opinion for the disqualification of Hemant Soren because he has violated Section 9A of the Representation of People Act, whereby he allotted or he awarded a mining lease to himself, and that was the ground based on which the Election Commission has given its opinion. And what our sources are saying is that governor is still examining the opinion of the Election Commission, and very soon the governor will be notifying the opinion of Election Commission. The moment the governor notifies the opinion of the Election Commission with his order, then that means that Hemant Soren has to step down as the Chief Minister because he is disqualified as an MLA. The moment the Chief Minister steps down, the Council of Ministers also steps down. But what is interesting here is that the Election Commission, according to our sources in the Election Commission, Hemant Soren is not debarred from contesting any election. That means even after stepping down as Chief Minister, he can again be sworn in as Chief Minister with the support of majority of MLAs, and then he has to get re-elected within 6 months. And that's why what, according to our sources, say that Hemant Soren is in touch with several constitutional experts to decide on the future course of action.
Right. Sort of the BJP, of course, has already demanded midterm polls. How are things poised if elections were to take place? What's the buzz in Ranchi? What's the thinking in the JMM Congress alliance at the moment?
Well, Ankita, throughout the day, we've had the opportunity to be able to speak to some JMM and Congress leaders. Now, all of them seem to indicate that Hemant Soren is likely to continue under perhaps the provisions that Arvind was just mentioning. So, in terms of the Congress, the JMM, also remember there are other smaller parties as far as this alliance in Jharkhand is concerned, the RJD, even the NCP with one MLA. All of them seem to suggest that the numbers are clearly at this point in the favor of the ruling alliance. So the BJP has to, of course, look for other alternates if it wants to form government. And what are those other alternates? If they can get Hemant Soren to resign and they can allow midterm polls, then perhaps they can look at increasing their tally in the Vidhan Sabha, which would then propel them to power. So that's the BJP's rationale behind demanding midterm polls. Meanwhile, as we speak, there is still a meeting underway at the residence of Hemant Soren with all leaders and including alliance leaders that came in the morning. We spoke to them. The Congress seems firmly behind Hemant Soren, so does other alliance partners. It seems what Arvind was saying, that will be perhaps the next few steps. Once, of course, the governor notifies, all eyes on the Raj Bhavan because the governor still hasn't officially done it. But once he does it, that will perhaps set in motion what Arvind was mentioning.
Right. All right, Arvind and Saurabh, thanks very much. Of course, we'll continue to track all developments in that story. This isn't over yet. So another opposition government effectively toppled, this time in Jharkhand, and the series of governments recently toppled was referenced by the Delhi Chief Minister today, who likened it to the work of a serial killer in his address to MLAs at a special session of the Delhi Assembly. The AAP government is also going to bring a confidence motion in the Assembly on Monday. Kejriwal has also alleged that the recent raids by probe agencies against Delhi ministers is linked to the polls in Gujarat.
शहर में एक सीरियल किलर आया हुआ है जो एक के बाद मर्डर करता जा रहा है, एक के बाद एक मर्डर करता जा रहा है। जनता सरकार चुनती है, ये सरकार गिरा देते हैं। 6300 करोड़ रुपए इन्होंने ऑपरेशन लोटस में खर्च किए, ये पैसा कहां से आया? ये जितनी जीएसटी, ये जितना महंगाई हो रही है, इतना जीएसटी लगा दिया इन लोगों ने, ये सारा पैसा कहां जा रहा है? ये सारा पैसा दो चीजों में जा रहा है। एक अपने अरबपति दोस्तों के कर्जे माफ करते हैं और दूसरे ये एमएलए खरीदते हैं। 15 अगस्त को लाल किले पे खड़े होकर उन्होंने कहा पूरे देश को कि मैं भ्रष्टाचार की लड़ाई लड़ रहा हूं, देशवासियों मुझे आपका साथ चाहिए। ये कहते हैं हम भ्रष्टाचार के खिलाफ लड़ाई लड़ रहे हैं, जितने भ्रष्टाचारी हैं उनके खिलाफ कर रहे हैं। ये लड़ाई भ्रष्टाचार के खिलाफ नहीं है, ये लड़ाई एक आदमी के स्वार्थ की लड़ाई है, एक आदमी की सत्ता की हवस की लड़ाई है।
Delhi Chief Minister's big offensive against the BJP in a special assembly session,
कॉन्फिडेंस मोशन लाना चाहता हूं,
where he announced they would move a confidence motion on Monday to assure the people of Delhi that their MLAs will not sell the trust of voters for money. The special assembly session started with Aam Aadmi Party MLAs raising slogans in the assembly accusing the BJP of offering 20 crore rupees each to AAP MLAs to break away from the party. The BJP later raised their slogans alleging Aam Aadmi Party government in Delhi of betraying the people. After they were marshalled out of the assembly, BJP MLAs protested at the Gandhi statue in Delhi Assembly.
हमारी मांग है कि मनीष सिसोदिया को बर्खास्त करना चाहिए। विपक्ष को जबरन सदन से बाहर निकाला गया क्योंकि हम भ्रष्टाचार पर चर्चा चाहते थे।
Amid the escalating politics in the national capital over the alleged irregularities in implementation of the excise policy and the allegations of Operation Looters, the Aam Aadmi Party is all set to table a motion of confidence in the Delhi Assembly on 29th of August. And while the Aam Aadmi Party will try to attack the Bharatiya Janata Party for allegedly trying to poach their MLAs, the Bharatiya Janata Party will try its level best to bring back the focus on the alleged irregularities and the CBI probe in the implementation of the new excise policy. With camera person Sushil Rathi, I'm Akshay Dongre for NDTV.
Well, the AAP BJP war also played out on Twitter today, with Kejriwal and Assam Chief Minister Hemant Soren locking horns over education after reports that the Assam government was considering shutting down some schools where no student had passed. Ratnadeep Chaudhary with that report.
You are running just 1200 schools and few mohalla clinics. We are running 2000 plus hospital. We are running 60,000, 50,000. मेरा एकदम हिसाब नहीं है, but I am sure that we are running more than 60,000 school. That model he can compare Delhi model versus Chandigarh model. He can compare Delhi model versus the Andaman model. But he should not bring this comparison.
Assam Chief Minister Hemant Soren's sharp retort to his Delhi counterpart and Aam Aadmi Party Supremo Arvind Kejriwal. After a series of tweets from Kejriwal on the Assam government's reported decision to close some schools over poor results, Sarma responded sharply, tweeting on Assam's achievements in both education and health, the Aam Aadmi Party's big talking points. Kejriwal's tweet to Sarma was rather diplomatic. In an attempt to position himself as a national leader, he said he did not want to point out flaws with the Assam government. We are all one nation. We have to learn from each other. Only then will India become the #1 country. I will come to Assam. Tell me when can I come? You should show your good work in the field of education. You come to Delhi, I will show you the progress made here. He tweeted in Hindi. With Ratnadeep Chaudhary in Assam, Bureau Report, NDTV.
In the murder case of actor and Haryana BJP leader Sonali Phogat, security camera footage has emerged from a Goa restaurant showing her staggering out while being unable to walk on her own. She's being helped by Sudhir Sangwan, one of her 2 associates who've now been arrested in the case. The other, Sukhwinder Singh, was with them as they left the popular party joint Curly's restaurant on Anjuna Beach for their hotel on Monday night. She was brought dead to St. Anthony's Hospital in Goa the next morning. The police also claimed they have footage showing Sudhir Sangwan forcing a spiked drink on Phogat.
An inconsolable daughter saying farewell as actor and Haryana BJP leader Sonali Phogat was cremated. A large number of people attended the last rites in Haryana's Hisar after the 43-year-old leader died under mysterious circumstances in Goa. And hours after her cremation, the Goa police, which was initially reluctant in even registering an FIR, revealed that Sonali Phogat was forcefully made to consume drugs.
कोई obnoxious chemical मिला करके पिलाया, जिसके बाद विक्टिम अपने सेल्फ में नहीं रह पाई.
The family, which has all along been accusing that Sonali was killed, now say that they stand vindicated.
हमने भी पता किया था अपने लेवल पे, तभी हम उसी बात पे दो दिन तक अड़े रहे कि इसके खिलाफ कार्रवाई हो, पहले FIR दर्ज हो, फिर हम पोस्टमार्टम करवाएं, फिर बॉडी के अंदर जैसे जैसे वो डिसोल्व होता चला जाएगा जो भी नशीला पदार्थ था, इसलिए हमने फिर बॉडी का पोस्टमार्टम करवाना जरूरी समझा.
Some BJP leaders are now supporting the family's demand for a CBI probe in the case.
जो परिवार चाहता है सरकार को वो करना चाहिए. अगर वो CBI की मांग कर रहे हैं तो निसंदेह हर हालत में CBI की इंक्वायरी होनी चाहिए.
The Goa police, which was initially reluctant to even register an FIR in the Sonali Phogat death case, now claims to have enough evidence that the 2 accused who have been booked in this case were seen forcefully getting Sonali consume some obnoxious substance or drugs. Now the family of Sonali Phogat here in Haryana's Hisar district believes that the Goa police will get to the bottom of the case and find out the real motivation and the reason for this murder. In Hisar, Mohammad Ghazali for NDTV.
On the issue of political parties promising freebies ahead of elections, the Supreme Court today asked a 3-judge bench to review a 2013 order that said such handouts are not a corrupt practice. Several political parties have argued during hearings that these are not freebies but welfare measures for the public. The court observed issues raised by parties require extensive hearing. The order was live streamed in a historic first to mark outgoing Chief Justice N.V. Ramana's last day. The freebies case was among 15 hearings streamed for the first time from the Chief Justice's court. And Chief Justice Ramana, who demitted office today, talked about the evolution of the judiciary in the last 75 years. In his farewell speech, he said people's faith in the judiciary should not be shattered with just one perceived unfair judgment.
Now coming back to the jurisprudence, in the last 75 years of our jurisprudence have evolved considerably. Our judiciary is not defined by a single order or decision. Yes, at times it fell short of people's expectations, but most of times it has championed the cause of the people. It is widely predicted that the A.K. Gopalan case, the due process of law was history. But this court in case of Maneka Gandhi restored what was taken away earlier. Similarly, ADM Jabalpur was seen as a death knell on personal liberty. Subsequently, the error was stood rectified by 9 judges bench in K.S. Puttaswamy. This institution never hesitated to remedy itself. Your hope upon the institution cannot be so weak that it is shattered with one perceived unfair judgment.
The police in Dallas, Texas arrested a Mexican-American woman after a video of her assaulting and racially abusing a group of 4 Indian-American women surfaced and then went viral on social media.
Why would you come and talk to us and make arrest? You're the one who came and talked to me. I'm sorry. Don't touch me. Don't touch me. You don't touch me.
Oh my God, guys, record. She's hitting me. I'm Mexican.
The attacker is seen racially abusing the Indian-American women and asking them to go back to India. She says, I hate you Indians, you're everywhere I go. And all these Indians come to America because they want a better life. If life was so great in India, why are you here? The incident took place in a parking lot in Dallas. The woman, a Mexican-American, has now been arrested. Pharma company Moderna has sued Pfizer over its COVID vaccine, filing lawsuits in Germany and the United States, saying that Pfizer copied Moderna's mRNA technology to develop its own COVID vaccine, Comirnaty, which is the commercial term used for Pfizer's COVID vaccine that's used for those who are above the age of 12. Moderna said Comirnaty unlawfully infringed patents filed by Moderna between 2010 and 2016. Moderna says it doesn't want to remove Pfizer's vaccine from the market, but is demanding compensation for the ongoing use of this vaccine. Moderna lifted patents in 2020 during during the pandemic, but patents are still not applicable to low or middle-income countries. Well, on to news from Maharashtra, where there's been a big push for tourism today. Deputy Chief Minister Devendra Fadnavis launching the government's caravan tourism, a concept of holiday and home on wheels. The government will be promoting caravan tourism to allow people to rent caravans and travel in these specially designed vehicles to visit tourist destinations in the state.